When we call or mention the greatest African leaders, names that come to our mind are the Nelson Mandela of South Africa, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Julius Nyeyere of Tanzania, Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, Sekoure Toure of Guinea, and sometimes Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. But we also fail to mention a man, an icon, an enigma that turned Bostwana from the poorest country in the world to the fastest growing economy in the world. His name is Sir Seretse Khama. And this is the story of the greatest African leader in the post-colonial era of Africa. And welcome. I still remain your one and only host, Okoyorikachuku Edwin Patripiu, aka Watermelon. And whenever we mention the greatest African leaders of all time, we tend to leave out this name, Sir Seretse Khama. Like, I feel he's the greatest African leader to ever walk the earth in the post-colonial era. So today I'll be explaining why I feel that way. So please guys, if you've not liked this video, share and subscribe, and let's get right into it. Born into royalty, the son of Sir Seretse Khama, the paramount ruler of Bamagweto, which was a British protectorate. At age 4, he was made Ugosi, which is king, even though his uncle acted as regent. He was educated in South Africa and then moved to further his studies in the United Kingdom in 1944, where he became a barrister. In June 1947, Khama met Ruth Williams, and they did what every other couples do, which was fall in love. Their love story is really a funny case, as they tied the knot a year later in 1948. This interracial marriage was really controversial, sparking outrage from different sides of the spectrum, notably the racially segregated apartheid government of South Africa and fractions from the tribal elders of Bostwana land. Personally, I feel his resolution to uncompromisingly stick to his love and ideals as a person was what made him great. People don't understand that the 40s and 50s was a different time for everybody in general. The United Kingdom persecuted him, including the so-called Great Winston Churchill, simply because South African apartheid governments had a strategic economic leverage over the United Kingdom, making them bow to their will. Because during that time, the United Kingdom was heavily indebted from the war which they fought in World War II. So the United Kingdom could not afford to lose cheap gold and uranium supplies from the South Africans. Even though Bostwana land was a British protectorate and not a colony, the British exiled Sir Seretse Khama from Bostwana land, stating he wasn't fit to rule based on his interracial marriage and falsified report that deemed him unfit. In 1956, based on tension from the controversial decision of the UK government, the atmosphere in Bostwana land was really tensed and unsettled, and the people was asking for their king to return. And he eventually did. After his return, he renounced the throne, and in 1961 he dived into politics, becoming Botswana's first prime minister. After much push and struggle, in 1966 Botswana gained independence from the Britain government, and he became Botswana's first democratic elected president. In my own opinion, the greatest achievement of Nelson Mandela wasn't the fight for freedom. The greatest achievement of Nelson Mandela was bringing peace and reducing impending doom of the nation into retrogression and chaos. Because as far as I'm concerned, freedom for me is the ability for you as a person to own yourself, and for a nation and its people to own its resources and its land. The South African economy is one of the most unequal economies in the world today, meaning that the gap between the wealthy and poor is just too enormous and far. 80% of the country economy is still run by a certain white minority, meaning that regardless of what happens, they are still going to be in power. And once you are able to fund a presidential campaign, you can actually tell the president of how high he should jump, and he will jump. But that's not the case for Botswana. because at the time of their independence in 1966, Botswana was the third poorest country on earth. For a country the size of France, it could only boast of a 12-kilometer paved road and about 22 graduates. But still, Khama plunged the country into an export-based economy built around the beef, copper and diamond industry. Botswana was not a colony but a protectorate, and based on the education and wisdom of Sir Seretse Khama, he instigated a system which the resources of the land will be shared between the people and other foreign investors. Like I always say in this channel, for Africa as a continent to move forward, we have to have ownership of our land and resources, and that's what he did. And that singular move alone transformed the destiny of the country, because in 1967, the Orampa diamond deposits was discovered, and that discovery alone aided in his transformation and upliftment of his country into the new age. What you have to understand is that the major difference between many of these African countries and Botswana is that in the 60s, Sir Seretse Khama placed Botswana in a good spot, putting them in a free market economy and making sure they have the rights to their own resources, thereby gaining greater revenue and uplifting his nation into a better space and a better condition. Whereas the other African country plunged into civil war in the 60s, such as the Congo and the Katanga people fighting for the rights to their land and power between themselves. The same goes with Nigeria and Congo. This fight and tussle for power made it more easier for new colonialist corporations to come into the land and have ownership of their land and resources, thereby plunging them into a steady state of retrogression, which they are still experiencing to date. And it simply shows that if we fail to plan as a people, it simply means we are planning to fail. Sadly, on the 13th of July 1980, Sir Seretse Khama died from complications of pancreatic cancer, and about 40,000 people came to pay their last respect as he lay in state in Gaborone, and he was buried in his hometown, which was Sekoure. Yeah, I got it, Sekoure, and I just hope his legacy continues to live on with the people of Bostwana, because definitely his legacy lives on in me. Well, guys, I'm all out, and I really appreciate you guys for sticking with me to this very moment, or sticking with me to this very end of the video. So I appreciate you guys. I love you, and please like, share and subscribe. Thank you, and see you in the next video.